Today's video is going to be on fragrance terminology, and I kind of feel like I should have done this video when I first started my channel, but what brought the idea on is that I've gotten some new subscribers. Hello, and thank you so much for subscribing, and thank you to the people who are already or have been subscribed to my channel who keep coming back to support me. I really appreciate your support, and I appreciate those of you who are watching who are not subscribed. But the question is, why aren't you subscribed? Go ahead and push that button if you like what I do, okay? But yeah, we're going to talk about fragrance terminology. The main, what this channel is all about, word or term is fragrance, okay? So what a fragrance is, just a composition of aromatic oils mixed with either alcohol or alcohol and water. And even today, it's new, it's innovative. There are fragrance oils that are mixed with just water, the oils with water. And I think it's by a brand called Hermetica. I haven't tried any of those, but I know that the science is constantly innovating, and I think that's amazing. I think that's cool. But anyway, the concentration of the oil in the fragrance is what determines the performance of the fragrance. So fragrances that have more fragrant oils tend to perform a lot better than fragrances that have less fragrant oils. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is list them in order of best performers to most fleeting. The best performing fragrances are pure parfums or extraits. They're the same thing. They have an alcohol concentration that varies between 15% and 20% or 40%, excuse me. They're meant to really put on skin, because if you put them on your clothes, they can be too oily and leave a stain. Okay. The next most potent is going to be an eau de parfum, and that's an EDP. So when people say EDP, they mean eau de parfum. This concentration, this composition has an oil concentration of 15 to 20% oil. You can spray them on your skin or on your clothing, but you really shouldn't put them on delicate fabrics like silk or light clothes, because if the oil or the fragrance is dark, it could leave a mark or an oily spot. So the thing I wanted to mention about eau de parfums and the extraits or the pure parfums, which are the same thing, those extraits and pure parfums, is that they tend to have a higher concentration of heart notes and base notes, and we'll talk about notes in a little bit, but so that the fragrance lasts a little bit longer. But what can be a misconception is that pure parfums and eau de parfums have to be heavy fragrances. That's not true. They just have to have a higher concentration of oils to make them last longer, but they can still be on the fresher side. They don't have to be deep, dark fragrances, okay? The next group would be eau de toilettes, and excuse my notes, I do have some notes here. They would have 5 to 15% fragrant oil. These ones can be applied to your clothing because they have less of an oil concentration, and they are more fresh in the beginning, and they're more fleeting. They tend to dry down, and we'll talk about that term later too, but dry down a little bit faster. They don't last as long. And then there are eau fraiches and eau de colognes. I'm going to go ahead and kind of group these together because I feel like they are similar. It seems like the eau fraiche, they may have a little bit higher concentration of some deeper notes that make them last a little bit longer. It says 3% for the eau fraiche, but the eau de cologne have 3 to 8%. And both of these are pretty clean, they're fresh, they're invigorating, but they're also fleeting. They really don't last that long. You can spray these pretty generously and get away with not, feeling like you've sprayed too much perfume, okay? So the cost of perfume goes down the lower the concentration of oil. So the most expensive perfumes have the highest concentration of oil in them, okay? And what I found in my research, and I'll go ahead and put my the articles that I researched from down in the description box. But what I found is that there is not a lot of regulation in the percentage of perfume oil compared to or combined with the title of the perfume. So one house's extrait might be another house's parfum. And it's just dependent on the concentration of oils. So the way that they name them doesn't necessarily clearly reflect the amount of oil that's in the composition. And I think that that was interesting because I know even with myself and people who I've heard their videos talk about, this fragrance is supposed to be an eau de parfum. It doesn't last as long as I thought it would. Or eau de toilettes lasting forever, you know, longer than they thought they would. So I think that that has something, or it could have something to do with it, as far as the regulation is not necessarily clear about, you know, this 20% has to be a parfum, or this 40% has to be an extrait. It's kind of blurred the line throughout the percentage and the composition. So that's pretty interesting to me. Let's see. So let's move on to performance. This is how a fragrance develops, how it lasts, how it projects throughout the air. So the first term is longevity. And what that is when you spray your fragrance on your skin, and all of these things are referenced to skin, not necessarily on clothes, because they do tend to last a little bit longer on clothes when you spray them there, but how the fragrance acts when you spray it on your skin. So longevity, when you first spray a fragrance on your skin to the end of when you can't smell it anymore, that is a fragrance's longevity, okay? Let's see, pure parfums generally last for about 6 to 8 hours. These are general. I've definitely had some fragrances that have lasted longer than that. And, you know, it's not an exact thing. So the EDPs, it says 4 to 5 hours, again, can last longer than that. I've experienced longer. EDTs, 2 to 3 hours, they can last longer. Eau de colognes and eau fraiches, it says 2 hours, and I feel like that could be pretty accurate, 2 to 3 hours for those, because they have notes that are pretty volatile, they're pretty fleeting, and they tend to dissipate pretty quickly. Another term is projection. Projection is when you spray your fragrance on your skin, how far into the air around you does it project? Does it push out? Okay. And so with that comes, it's dependent on time as well. It doesn't have to be, because some fragrances just go and push and push and push. But over time, a lot of fragrances will come closer to you. Okay, so as the fragrance develops or as it dries down, it will not project as much and it'll come closer to your skin. And so when they sit very close to you, another term is skin scent. So when a fragrance is just very close to you, people can't smell it unless they're, you know, very close to you. Not even necessarily, I mean, they've got to be in your bubble, but I mean really, really close to you. That is a skin scent. Sillage is when you're moving around in the air, how you are able to smell the fragrance. So as you walk past somebody, that is your sillage. Okay. The development of the fragrance is evaporation of the fragrance, or how it mixes on your skin, how it dries down. Dries down is how it goes from the top notes mixing with the mid notes, mixing with the base notes, to the top notes not existing anymore, how the mid notes mix with the base notes, and how it just becomes a softer fragrance, or just how it develops on your skin. So that is the development of the fragrance. That happens, you know, you get from the initial spray, you get to a base note or a dry down, not a base note, but you get to a dry down within 30 minutes to an hour of spraying. Some fragrances don't change a lot. Those are linear fragrances. You know, they smell pretty much the same from when you first spray it till when you can't spray it anymore. That is a linear fragrance. It has no development or very little development, okay? Let's see. There is also, yeah, so that's the end of the development or the performance of the fragrance. And I just wanted to mention what notes are. So notes are they make up a fragrance composition. They are raw materials, not necessarily anymore. They are synthetic materials also. Some raw materials you are not able to extract a fragrance from. And so what the scientists do, what the chemists do, is they find a way to synthesize a molecule that smells like something that you would find in nature, okay? So there's a pyramid of how a fragrance is made, is composed. There's top notes, there's mid notes, and there's base notes. So the top notes, as I've said, before, are more volatile. They are mostly citruses. They do not last long. They're only there when you first spray them within the first 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes or so, and then they start to dissipate, okay? The mid notes tend to be floral, fruity, or, spicy, and those last longer. They will start to mix with the base notes, which tend to be heavier. And again, this is general, because like I said in the beginning, it doesn't necessarily mean that a fragrance is heavy if it's a parfum or anything. It just means that the concentration of the notes that make it last longer are higher. So the base notes are generally going to be resins, woods, musks, okay? These things help carry the fragrance. They help to fix the fragrance so that it lasts longer on your skin. Okay, and sometimes, depending on the perfumer, you can smell the base notes when you first spray the fragrance. You don't have to wait for the development. And I don't know if that would count as a linear fragrance or if it would just count as, no, because I've had some fragrances where I can smell the base notes before I get to the end of the fragrance, before the top notes have dried down. So yeah, there are fragrances where you can smell the base notes before the fragrance even has gotten to the end of the end of the development, okay? There's one more thing that I wanted to talk about today, and that is an accord. So an accord is a mixture of the fragrance notes, these individual notes. Give an example, maybe jasmine, cherry, strawberry, musk, sandalwood, cedarwood, citrus, bergamot, mandarin orange. All those things are notes, but mixed together in creative ways, the perfumers make accords. So say a certain mixture of notes would make a mojito accord, or would make a cotton candy accord, or would make, like a tea accord. That's something that I had written down. There are simple accords. I think that's a mixture, not I think, but what was written, what I researched, was up to 5 fragrance notes are a simple accord. And then more than 5 would be a more complex accord, okay? And sometimes you even have to make accords, like I said before, I'll just mention again, of things that are in nature that have a scent naturally, but just can't be extracted through the maceration process or through the process of making or extracting the fragrance from the natural ingredients. So those are synthetic notes and accords mixed together. So it's very interesting. There's endless possibilities when you are thinking about fragrance compositions and mixing things. There are endless possibilities. So that's why there's so many perfumes and so many different smells. I want to talk more. I'm going to do another video talking more in depth about accords and how they extract things and layering and things like that. So that's going to be my next video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope that it was informative to you. I hope that it was easy to listen to, and I hope I catch you in the next one. See you later. Love, Jay. Bye-bye.